One of the big stories that has come out this week, as we're recording this, is that
Mm.
Prince's Purple Rain is going to be adapted into a stage play for
Yes.
Broadway. And this is going to, and so we're looking at Billboard. The production is set to feature Prince's Oscar-winning score with a book by Brendan Jacob Jenkins. Jenkins. Well, you don't hear the Jenkins name. That's some old story. I just wanted to read a little bit of this and get some comments. So,
Mhm.
Baby, he's still a star nearly 40 years after Prince unleashed the original Purple Rain film and soundtrack album. The era defining story is headed to the stage and possibly the Great White Way. I don't even know what that means. I didn't even see that earlier.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
that's a
it's,
little
yeah, the Great White Way.
okay, what
Interesting.
do they
It
mean?
must mean something in the stage world, or
Okay.
because
I've
I
never
didn't
heard
even.
that before. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Okay. I have to look it up.
I'm sure y'all gonna let us know in the comments what that's all
Yeah.
about. Um, a stage adaptation of Purple Rain is under development, with a world premiere in the works, as per the Hollywood Reporter on Monday, January 8th. All right. The adaptation is set to feature a score by the late Prince with a book by Pulitzer Prize finalist Brandon Jacob Jenkins, who is currently enjoying the Broadway run of his acclaimed drama Appropriate. Uh, when they say a book, and see, I don't know the stage
Mhm.
world, Broadway, is that like some sort of booklet that comes with the shows that you when you go to the show or something?
No, so, there's also, like, just I'm not sure if they mean, like, here's one that's just like a
Mhm.
normal play screen kind of, like
Okay.
the play I'm forgetting the words, but like, the play written out in actual book form. I'm not sure what they mean
Hmm,
if it's going to be this format, like the playwright format, or
okay.
it's going to be in just a an actual book on the process. Like, I'm not sure what that is. I want to know more about that. So that's a good question,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I'm not sure about that because they're not exactly clear. But
Alright, and then so, yeah, so the book is gonna be by, Mr. Jenkins,
mhm.
um, and so the book, it says, will be based on the original Purple Rain screenplay, which was written by Albert Magnoli, who also directed the original film, and William Blinn. Uh,
Mm.
Lillian, if I'm saying her name, Cruz, who picked up a Tony nomination in 2022 for Best Direction of a Play, which was The Skin of Our Teeth, is set to direct with Tony winner Orrin Wolf on production duties. I think we got a quote. Quote says, "We can't think of a more fitting tribute than to honor Prince and the Purple Rain legacy with this stage adaptation of a beloved story," said L. Londell McMillan, chairman of North Star Group, and Larry Minstill, founder and CEO of Primary Wave Music. Now, of course, Londale is a part of, well, I think he manages uh, the Prince estate on one side, and then the other side, I guess, is Primary Wave.
Mhm.
They're both, and I don't know. You never see. No one ever mentions Larry Minstill. Everyone's, oh, Londale Spencer Spicer, but is another name that has a lot of control over the
Mm.
Prince stuff that we don't never
Yeah.
talk about.
Mhm.
CEO of Primary Wave. So salute to them. I know they're about their money. Um, says we are thrilled with our Broadway partners and creative team who are bringing a theatricality to the film's original fictional story. We can't wait for a new generation to discover Purple Rain and for lovers of the original film and album to experience its power once again, this time live. So there you go. When I originally saw this, I was like, you know what? Yes, I'm ready for it. I love this. And
Right.
I say that because I saw I don't know if did you see the Michael Jackson MJ the
Of
musical?
course. Miles Frost is a Bowie State alum,
Oh,
so
okay, okay.
yeah, we went there for
And that was
sure.
brilliant to me. I was blown away on this one.
Amazing. I went down there to shoot that down. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was very skeptical back
Really?
then, and I was like, I was proven very much wrong. It was amazing. It had nothing to do with Miles at all. It was just like Michael was. How are you going to portray Michael?
Right.
I'm very sensitive when it comes to Michael because of a lot of cosplay that goes around with him, the impersonators. I'm like, they finna put an
Cosplay.
impersonator up here on this stage. I'm gonna be mad. So I was coming in there. I was like, I don't know, but I'm gonna have an
Mhm.
open mind. And I went and I loved it. And I also was hearing a lot of the rumblings of the folks who wrote the play in itself, the playwrights, and they were kind of like, yeah, he did all of that stuff. The stuff that I'm talking about. They were kind of like, he
Uh,
was guilty of a lot. They felt that he was guilty of the allegation. So I was like, like having to support that is very.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just hesitant, but I went and I loved it. I couldn't be like proven wrong in any other way. And I felt it was a beautiful homage to him. They captured his spirit so well. And so much props to Miles, my fellow alum from Bowie State. He did the thing and he's getting ready to go out there in London and do it all over again. So he's getting
Oh,
ready to
wow.
do all
Yeah.
this, do all the good stuff with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
he
I
brought
agree
him
with
to life.
everything you said, I agree with. It was
Mhm.
phenomenal. I took my youngest daughter with me, and we were just
Oh,
so, um, so as that's to say, I
mhm.
I was amped for this. Not to
Yes.
say I'm not now, but I have some reservations.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Unfortunately. There was a piece in the New York Times. It was an article, very long article interview with Mr. Jacobs.
Yeah.
And in that, toward the end of that, they kinda started touching on him working on this Prince, Purple Rain screenplay. And I
Yes.
wanna read a little bit of what was in there, and there's a lot in here. Salute to the, author of this piece,
Yes. It was a very
Julian
in-depth
Lucas.
understanding of his backstory for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna skip through here real quick. It says, I think this is Jacob sort of talking about how he came across this project. He says, in some ways, I must have manifested this. In 2020, he posed for a photo with the playwrights Dominique Masura and Katori Hall. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your names, and realized that he was the only one in the group who hadn't written a musical about a hometown hero. One of the comments he made was says, "No one will ever ask me to do a jukebox musical because I'm from DC, and like no one cares about Roberta Flack. That's all we have, you know." I don't know about that, but
That kinda rubbed me the wrong way.
yeah, I can imagine. I ain't from there, so I'm under my business.
I was
But I
like,
was
"We
like,
got more than that," but okay, alright.
but all right, we're gonna let that ride for a second. Shortly thereafter,
Mhm.
a producer contacted Jacob Jenkins to commission a stage adaptation of Purple Rain, which, like him, will be turning 40 later this year. Um, Jenkins was ambivalent. I'm saying the name word. Although he'd grown up with Prince's music, he thought the movie Purple Rain was quote unquote bad. I don't think he meant the Michael Jackson, who's bad? He's saying
No.
bad like not good. And said as much on an exploratory Zoom call. But he agreed to consider the idea if only for his old mentor, Daphne Brooks, a Prince super fan who thought that he'd be an ideal interpreter of the musician's defiant singularity. And y'all got a vocabulary. I'll commend y'all. It's the philosophy of the sly, she told me. In her view, Jenkins' ethos of subversion is consonant with Prince's crusade against the music industry on questions of genre boundaries, appropri- appropriationists, and self
Mm,
definition.
mhm.
Okay. What better candidate than the queer author of An Octoroon to channel the voice of controversy? Am I black? Am I straight or gay? Who famously protested his contract with Warner Brothers by scrawling the word slave on his cheek. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of seeing where they're going with this.
Yes.
And it makes I'm reading and I was reading like this, and then when they start saying some of these words, I'll be like, "Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you kinda
yeah, I don't know if that's what Prince was doing, but okay, I'm still with you a little bit." Um, and I'm gonna jump ahead. All right, the protagonist of Purple Rain is a young musician called the Kid, Prince,
mm,
who drives a purple motorcycle, writes strange and passionate songs, and vies for the pimp-like band leader and vines with the pimp-like band leader Morris Day for the affections of a beautiful young singer named Apollonia. The version of Jenkins' adaptation, which I saw, retained most of the story, but gave its extravagant characters a 21st century makeover. Okay. I'm
yeah.
still kind of there. I can understand. I was like, okay. I don't know what the makeover would be, but I could see
Mhm.
maybe maybe he just means, we bring them up a little up to date if they're still the same type of characters.
Absolutely. 'Cause some of the
Uh,
stuff from the '80s would just not fly, period, you know?
right.
Mhm.
Day, when he made it past at Apollonia, called her a sophisticated multi hyphenate mamma jamma and suggested that she might have a future focusing on women's empowerment at his media company.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I'm really trying to understand, I'm really trying to understand a little bit, you know?
So
Trying to see what it
Morris is gonna have some kind of media company.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay, but it's kinda like, it's kinda like,
Like
corporate world
Jay-Z?
vibes, you know?
What'd
Corporate
you
world
say?
I said like
Corporate.
corporate world
Okay.
vibes,
Okay.
kind of
And
little
it Yeah, yeah, okay, and it's some sort of it's okay, interesting. A media company, like, would that be some kind of social media thing or, like, what I just he's
maybe
got a
like
website
content
or
creation or something, maybe like that.
so,
Mhm.
basically, Morris a YouTuber.
Yeah, he like influencer, basically.
Hilarious. Oh, yeah, he's gonna be the Vlad.
Yeah.
Morris.
Wait. Wait.
They're gonna have Morris with a podcast. Think this is
You're
good.
never gonna see Morris's face? That's crazy.
Anyway, okay, uh, and then so she's gonna be and he's the one telling her that she has a future in focusing on women's empowerment. That's interesting. That
Uh-huh.
that's the is that the Morris Day character?
No, it's a total like was it 180? Yeah, yeah. That's definitely a turn.
Um, Apollonia had evolved from feisty but pliant Galati. I mean, I guess salute on the
Robust
vocabulary.
vocabulary.
Yeesh. She turns into a confident, creative force. Okay, the kid changed most of all from a seductively instructable and merciful figure to a
Mhm.
more vulnerable young artist. In Darling Nikki, a song about a sex fiend, the character slut shames Apollonia for defecting to Morris Day. Yet the stunt backfired in an adaptation, triggering a deluge of texts that heralded the kid's cancellation.
Mhm. I didn't realize that slut shaming. That's an interesting way to frame that.
It is. It,
Mhm.
I mean,
I
he
thought it was
definitely,
more of a vengeful play because he was
yeah,
just jealous, like but because it was never really implied in the movie that she slept with Morris though.
right.
So how is it that's why I'm really confused on like the slut shaming part of it because
Well,
she
he's obviously doing something to her to make her feel the way she did to run out like that.
of
Whether
course.
whether I don't know if it's
But
right, I don't know, slut
you know what
shaming.
I mean? Like of course there's like a bit of misogyny in that, but I don't know if it's like slut shaming per se, like specifically. That's why I'm just a little confused with
Mm.
that.
So I'm curious now, is he still going to perform the song in this? version.
Yeah, but
He's
maybe that's where the media company comes in. Because what if they, like, blow it
live
up
streaming
and
it or
this is
something.
where it gets canceled and, like, all of that? That's probably what that's going to be
But
like.
for him to be canceled, that would, I guess he is known. I guess I guess this whole thing is instead of First Avenue, maybe they're playing these songs online through this social media or something, and they're all kind of known to people that are paying attention to this. For
They
him to
could
be
they could
canceled, he would have to
live
be
stream
known.
right, but they could live stream it from, like, First Avenue. Like, they could do it like that.
Right, I'm just saying, I guess
Oh,
they're streaming these things that they're doing now, that's the
oh, yeah,
difference, right?
yeah.
So because how are people seeing this to be texting?
Mhm.
So he gets canceled. Yeah.
It would work if he was a big time artist, because he's a local artist. But unless it's, like, saying that, "Oh, after"
Right.
it's like, "Post this, and this goes to the internet," it's like, you know, Twitter,
Or
whatever it maybe
or
is.
it's like they're somewhat known online.
Okay.
And like there are rappers today that, they do have a presence online. It may not be
Right, right,
mainstream,
right.
but maybe he's doing something that's, yeah, I guess for
Mhm.
some people, oh, they can't.
Yeah, I feel like Morris is
Yeah,
co
who's gonna be so how is Billy like? Is Billy in this?
Yeah, where's Billy? You got the Billy sound? This is a business.
I guess, yeah. So is this the whole this is a business part then? Oh,
Wonder
you're gonna be
maybe
shadow banned. You're shadow banned off of.
maybe Billy is part of Morris's company? Or unless
Or
they're still
maybe.
incorporating First Avenue, like, how is that gonna work? Because
Oh,
we
you
don't
know
even
what
know
it
if
is?
they're
Yeah.
what?
They all are a part of just as an example.
Mhm.
They are on, ha!
Wait.
Billy's gonna be played by Joe Budden.
Please! No! No!
And Morris and Prince are just like part of the crew. They be on the show or they broadcast through his thing and he gonna get pulled off. The Joe Budden, Billy,
They got the
man,
Billy
Paul and
network.
Rory or whatever.
Yeah.
It ain't working, man. One of y'all got to go.
Not
I can't
Rory,
have
no.
all these co-hosts on. Oh, come on, man. Well, where's Lisa and Wendy? You just be doing your podcast on the network. Oh,
Mm.
okay,
And
they
that's
all
crazy because Joe Budden did have, like, those 2 girls that were having
see.
I see the vision. I see.
So it'll be quite different.
Oh.
uh, I say all this to say. Let me see if there's anything else in here. Um, it's a way of tidying up the film's gender politics that also dovetails with Jacob's career-long investigation of humiliation and rebirth. A crucial moment in the movie arrives when the kid's father, a failed pianist, attempts suicide. His son integrates one of his unfinished compositions into a new work, parlaying a traumatic inheritance into a radically transformed identity. Jenkins, too, is rummaging around in the archives during restoration work on a narrative that may not have turned out exactly as Prince hoped. I feel him telling the story in the songs that the script can't figure out, he told me. By
Mm,
studying the screenplay, as well as Prince's breakup with the singer Vanity, who was initially cast in Apollonia's role, he aspires to write a Purple Rain more original than the original. Faithful not to the film, but to the songs and their spiritual autobiography. He attempted okay, he attempted a similar trick with Kendrick, Octavia Butler's time-traveling neo-slave narrative,
right.
adding characters inspired by early manuscripts of the novel. The reimagining displeased more than a few of her devotees. But
Mhm.
Purple Rain and all of its splendid access may be a better fit for this method.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Let me just, we slipped out early after his song that Prince wrote for Morris Day called "Gigolos Get Lonely Too."
Mhm.
It was we slipped out after. It was a date night for Jacobs, who planned to attend the New York Film Festival with his husband, and I offered to walk. Excuse me, offered to walk him down Columbus Avenue to Lincoln Center as we passed the Museum of Natural History. He told me that the lyrics to "When Doves Cry" were written for a montage cut from the movie, in
Mhm.
which animals really did strike as curious poses as lovers embraced in a courtyard of violets in bloom. We're not even in draft three, he said, excitingly puzzling out the dilemmas involved in renovating the work.
Mhm.
Ah, ah, that's all I can handle.
I
I don't
know.
know. I don't know. What's your thoughts on this? There's a lot there.
So I just want to say, like, first, I was very excited about the possibility of Purple Rain, becoming, or not the possibility, the actual actions to put it towards the Broadway. Because I thought, again, like, similar to MJ the musical, I thought it was going to definitely bring that spark to the youth, and they can find their way towards Prince's work, and we'll build a bigger community of the next power generation. That was definitely a thought that came to mind at first, and I was like, I don't know if you saw my tweet. I was like, as long as it's written well, we're
Mm,
good. Now, I was ecstatic as a former playwright myself. I was ecstatic about the fact that we're having um, a black playwright, especially from DC, to represent for us, and definitely bring the blackness into Purple Rain, because as we know, it
mm,
was a lot of ambiguity within his race there. So I was definitely looking forward to bringing that element central, right? Um, okay, here's the thing. I went into it with my own, and I read that article thoroughly, and I looked at his background in writing, and he has a interesting background in the way he uh, interacts with his blackness, and of course,
mm,
um, his goal and his objective is always been to like shake things up and to like restructure how the
mhm,
black performing arts is viewed. So the producer who hired him knew that that was going to be about. Also, keep in mind that his influences are Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler, like these folks that are
mm.
Afrofuturist. So that also plays a pivotal role in how he's going to approach his writing. The huge thing about playwriting is about excavating your stuff and dealing with a lot of things face head on. So it makes sense of how he wants to restructure this and get back to the root of the original. However, I
Mm,
think people had in mind that this was going to be an adaptation of Purple Rain, not a
mm,
whole restructural phase of Purple Rain and getting to the root of dreams and building from dreams and onwards. I had no idea that. I had the adaptation in mind as well. I knew there was going to be some things omitted because we can't throw girls in dumpsters. It's not the 80s. We can't do those types of things.
mm,
We can't have those types of actions because Purple Rain is very much susceptible to, when you open that can of worms with Purple Rain, there's a lot of dialogue that will happen online and outwards. It's going to happen. And even when he restructures this play, it's going to happen because there's going to be reference to the past work, and then they're going to compare. And
mm,
so I'm hoping the estate is uh um and those that manage the estate are ready for that dialogue to happen, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen full force, whether they're either going to applaud or condemn. So both are going to exist. But I was just very happy at the prospect of this. But then I was very hesitant when I read that article, because I was like, is he aligned with Prince's goal?
mm,
I was like, I see the the parallels in his fight for blackness in playwriting and his journey as a playwright, but I'm also worried about the message in which Prince wanted to convey with Purple Rain being lost in translation. And keep in mind, if Prince were alive today, it would be very different. We all know, because people grow. And I'm not here to say, oh, Prince would have wanted this, Prince would have wanted that. That's omitted for me, because he is not here to speak for himself. But
mm,
what makes my heart warm about this, and I had to sit back and check myself, because I was like, he actually wants to get to the root of Prince's story, and not what was told through Prince. I mean, what Prince told or was sent to Albert Magnoli and those who were not of color in translating his story. So he does want to return back to Prince's original story, which is very heartwarming to me. However, I'm not sure about the character changes. I'm just I think it's a thing that more of the story is I think it's a thing you have to with a lot of plays and a lot of, visions when it comes to Broadway productions and just theatrical spectacles in general, you have to see it before you have to see the finishing project, and
Mhm.
it's too early to judge. And you kind of have to see it for yourself and make that decision because art is subjective. It touches whomever. But if it hits a core audience and it hits the young generation, I'm all for it. But I don't think it's going to be as detrimental as we think it is going to be. Um, and at
I
first,
actually agree with that. I actually agree with that, yeah.
yeah, at first I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be crazy," but we have to look at it. This is not an adaptation. This is an actual reconstruction of what Purple Rain is. And keep in mind that Purple Rain are characters. This is not Prince. This is he's not there. He's not making a play out of Prince's life. This is
Mm,
not MJ and the musical in that sense. You know, Prince, the kid, although the kid is synonymous with Prince, the kid is loosely based off of Prince's life, if it is at all.
mhm.
And you would know more because you've all have been delving in more into the creative process of Purple Rain and reading Dwayne's Two Dolls book, but and working through that on a weekly basis. But you know, Prince funded this film. He, he put every ounce of himself into this. So as much as we want it to be the same as Purple Rain, it's just not gonna be. And I think the only people that can make it similar to Purple Rain is the people that worked on it. Everybody comes in with their own vision as a writer. That's just how it is, and as a creative. So yeah, we just got to keep in mind that this is not an adaptation. This is a whole reconstruction of what Purple Rain's gonna look like, and the characters, not Prince himself. That's just my outlook on it, really.
Yeah, it's, my main point of this would be I'm open to see what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm a person who I feel like things can be remade.
Mhm.
It can't be made better than the original. Well, I'm not gonna say that either, but they're not gonna replace the original. And it'd be one thing if they said, "We're gonna put this movie out and pull back Purple Rain so you can never see the original." They're not doing that.
Yeah.
So, somebody else's interpretation of it on the surface level, I'm kinda curious, like, I like that in certain things, like, there's certain I like different interpretations of Batman, for instance. I
Yeah.
love different interpretations of Spider-Man. Some I like better than others. I don't mind that. The only thing is that I really question is, like, when Mr. Jake Jenkins said, he thought the movie was bad. Now, you can still have an opinion that you don't think is good. I just don't think that it's in the best interest of the product or the audience that you're trying to attract, or maybe you're not trying to attract the old school, but they say they want fans of the movie. If I'm a fan of the movie and they've hired someone to do a version of this and then he says he thinks the original was bad, right off the gate, I'm kinda like,
Yeah.
Well, why would you be involved?" I don't
Exactly, and that's where my mind went, like, I don't think that article did him much justice in the
Yeah.
you know?
It's like, "Oh, well, I think that, do the right thing is bad, so I'm going to do the version." Like, well, I can understand you may not like the movie, but so you're gonna do better than Spike? Okay.
Right.
So this is a bold thing to say. Well, I think they would say wants to do better than the original.
Mhm.
And again, if you would have been just speaking about something I didn't necessarily care about, or I like risky business. I didn't like risky business. I'm gonna do a black version of it. Okay, I didn't really have I didn't have a stake in this, but all right. But I do care about this. A lot
Right.
of people care about this, and we're passionate about this. So
Mhm.
if you're gonna come in here talking crazy, then yeah, we're gonna be like, hold up now. So
Absolutely.
we're supposed to be like, pump your brakes. So
Yeah.
I like to say to Mr. Jenkins, young man, yo, do your thing,
Exactly.
but you don't need to be. I would say, and you can say, well, you're a man, but maybe not like you don't want to put stuff out there that may come off as disparaging to Prince's work. You're kind of disrespecting the fan base when you say stuff like that because we love it. No, we've been watching this movie for 40 years or however long we've been alive and you've been a fan. You love it. So when someone come in and say, well, the Sign of the Times album is kind of bad,
Mm.
you know, I can make it better than we're gonna redo it for a 21st century. I'll be the first one like, no, you're not. Stop. You can
Yeah.
make something like it, but stop. You're talking crazy. So
Mhm.
we're talking about Prince and Purple Rain. Put some respect on the name. That's
For
the first
sure.
thing. And then you wanna do something different? Cool. Come
Right.
on in the community and let's see what you got going on, but that's
Absolutely.
my only thing. I'm interested to see what the 21st century some I'm not gonna say old, some fans may not care for this.
Yeah.
And you know what? You don't have to go see it. I agree with what you said earlier. I don't think this is going to have any real detrimental effect or
Yeah,
it could be but it ain't gonna stop Prince's music from being played.
absolutely.
It ain't gonna take and they're not pulling the records off the shelf or off the digital, and they certainly ain't getting rid of the original movie. So
Mm.
have at it. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know if our Broadway plays really popping to the point where they would push people away from, a legacy of music. I don't think so.
Mhm.
Uh, so we'll see what they do, but yeah, there are a group of fans out here that are gonna be, you know,
Yeah.
taking it back a little bit. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Uh, if you're coming out and saying it's bad, that's not the first step you take when you're gonna do something and you really want to bring everybody in. You don't come out like that. That's my
As a
only
first impression, that is not
yeah.
the you want to be very careful with the verbiage. It just might be because he's not as again, like, not as in touch with the purple community, so he's not really and I was like, I really hope somebody briefs him on, the inner workings of this community and knowing that it is a multi-generational situation here, like you're talking although you're targeting to younger generations that you want to welcome into Prince, you have to account for the generation that has already been stable since Prince for day one. You
Mhm.
have to
And
be a
they
bridge.
actually say that. They say they want both new and lovers of the film. So they want us
Right.
all to come in, like, to your point, yeah.
Yeah, but it just seems like he's not targeting like his verbiage is just a little it could be I could see how it could be off-putting to the more seasoned generations in Prince because it's like, yo, hey, you're kind of,
So
and
we
then
grew
just
up
even
on this.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
you
grew
grew
up
like
with
you know
the
what I'm
social
saying?
media.
And it's kind of it looks a certain way. The verbiage was just a little off-putting. And so, I hope this is more of a lesson in like, hey, I gotta watch how I attack this with the community, with the purple community, because it's just yeah, you just have to be careful with your verbiage and knowing that you're dealing with multiple generations here because what he said to me, I'm like, all right, you're valid in your opinion because everybody on Twitter, every 5 to 6 business days, they're gonna say Purple Rain's bad. They're gonna say
Mhm.
Graffiti Bridge is trash. Like that's just their opinion. And I'm so used to people spitting out their opinion that I was kind of like unfazed by this because I know I'm solid in what I love and it's not gonna affect what it is. And we're tested like that every day on social media. So it didn't affect me as much, but it did put an impression on me that I'm like, oh, you coming in with this kind of energy. So I kind of
Mhm.
already know what's up and how you're gonna attack this. But then when I started to read more, it just started to counteract that initial, you know, impression I had because I'm like, oh wait, you're interested in going into Prince's archives. You're interested in seeing what he wrote with Dreams initially and trying
Mhm.
to return back to that. So it's, you know, you just have to be careful. That's all I'm just saying is that you just have to be careful in
Watch your
how
tone
you
and delivery.
attack this and your tone of voice exactly. And it's just we got our the purple community has our guard up for Prince. Like it is what you gotta come in here swinging. We're protective
Right.
of Prince, and it is what it is. So
Yeah,
it can get
yeah,
really sticky. Yeah.
yeah, you're talking about some iconic work,
Mm-hmm.
and you come in and say you're gonna do better. That's a wild position to
Very.
take. I
Yeah.
don't care what you're talking on any type of iconic work. Oh, you like what's one of their big movies,
Mhm.
iconic movies from back in the day? Oh, you like Gone with the Wind? Nah, it
Oh,
was kind of bad. I'm gonna
mm.
redo it for 21st century. Boy, they be up in
They
no,
say you
Warner
what?
Brothers are not go whoever, no, not going to allow. They be going crazy. So
You said The
we're gonna be
Godfather's trash? What?
right, right. I'm gonna do it better. Okay, all right. See what happens. But yeah, so I mean, again, I know there's both sides to this. I know
Yeah.
that there's some hardcore 10 toes down Prince fans. It's like, I don't care what. I'm not mad at that either. I get it. I get it. And there's gonna be some people like, okay, I'm gonna see what. So we'll
Mhm.
see what happens. I hope it's dope. I want it to be good, good, because I want to
Right.
see it. I want to enjoy it. I want to be like, oh.
Of
And if
course.
it changes it to make it some parts great for kids or whoever, great. But
Mhm.
uh, please don't change the music.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
you don't think you're gonna be redoing it.
Let's please let's create around the music. Let's not,
Okay.
you can add some things if you want to add some things from the vault in there. Go ahead, by all
Right.
means. If you want to add electric intercourse and all that stuff in there, go do that. But
But yeah,
like the core of Prince has to stay in. The core of Prince is his music, absolutely.
yeah,
So
we're not trying to hear the drill version of Darling Nikki or the,
drill version.
chopped and screwed version of Jungle Love or something like, no, 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 no. Don't
Jungle
get too
love. Oh, we are. Girl, I wanna know your
yeah. Well, yeah, we on Morris and them are down south. That's just like, Lord.
now.
But again, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I also want to circle back to the idea that we were talking about with the book. Now,
Mhm.
it might be an actual book, like like an actual fiction, because to my
Hmm.
understanding, Mr. Jenkins, he is actually a fiction writer as well. Like his
I
whole
wouldn't
life
be mad at
was,
that.
yeah, was kind of, so I think he might be going into the speculative fiction route with the book. I think that's kind of what maybe I'm
Interesting.
getting from it. So,
Interesting.
just based on what I read in I think it was the New Yorker, like, um, prior to that blurb about um, Purple Rain itself. So it might actually be like a speculative fiction book, and that also could get the younger generation into, because there's such an emphasis on Afrofuturism. So if he decides to go that route with his influences aligned with, like, again, circling back to his influence of Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler, and so on and so
Mhm.
forth, then that could definitely bring in a new audience too. Because I am a passionate speculative fiction reader and
Okay.
Afrofuturism
Okay.
enthusiast. So I would love to see how that goes too. I mean, like, again, creative freedom is creative freedom. And I understand that as a
Mhm.
writer more than anything. Like, I understand that we all come in with our own voices and they have to be, distinct within our creative fields. So I get the creative freedom, but just make sure the core Prince is still there. That's all I asked. And
Yeah.
salute to you for this opportunity, because this is a once in a lifetime thing. And just all you have to do is make sure, like, I know we talked about this before with, like, the things with All Eyes on Me and stuff like
All
that, and
right.
how that kind of, you have to understand, this is a play. A play is a play. A movie
Mhm.
is a movie. So not everything is going to be 100% accurate, because it's supposed to be a production. So I always keep that in mind. Like, Straight Outta Compton didn't keep me from loving Easy E less, or it didn't make me do any of
Mhm.
that stuff, even though it wasn't 100% accurate. It didn't prevent me from loving those groups or loving hip hop or their
Right.
contribution to hip
True.
hop. Now, the accountability that was held with certain things, like with D Barnes and so on and so forth, it did put a
Mm.
blemish on their legacy in that way. But again, certain things are going to be addressed. I'm going to circle back to the omission of JJ Fad and Ruthless Records legacy. Like, certain things like
Mhm.
that, you're like, oh, in retrospect, that was an eyesore, but in the moment, it was a cultural phenomenon.
Mhm.
I chose to not be present for the All Eyes on Me situation. I chose not to do that, but I looked at it and I was like, it's a film. You know, it wasn't
Yeah.
detrimental to Tupac's legacy in any way. Now you can debate or whether or not it was additive or subtract. I mean, I don't think it's subtractive, but whether it was additive or just null, sure. But
Have you
I
seen the movie?
anything. Yes, I have. I saw the movie like when it went on to be released after the
Oh, okay.
theater, but I was
Okay.
definitely part of the boycott and not going.
Wow, that yeah, I
Yeah.
remember there was that.
Yeah.
See, I went the day it came out, I just
Mhm.
had to see it, and I get and I totally respect and understand why people boycott it, and
Mhm.
I can understand that. Uh, I guess for me, it just, uh, though I know there's things kinda twisted around in it and
Yeah.
whatever, I still felt like there was enough of the spirit of
Mhm.
Tupac and the young man who played him that I
To me
just
too.
got it was a joy to sit in the theater and to hear it, and I was like, "Wow, it's not Tupac, but this is the best that they can do to, like." It didn't feel like it was enough for Tupac where I got lost in it for some scenes, and I was like, "Man,
Yeah.
I liked it," and I have since bought the movie.
Yeah.
And actually, I watched it with my daughter. She'll be
Mm,
21 next month.
okay.
Well, they know a little bit about Pac. I think I
Mhm.
may have watched it with my son too. Actually, I did, and they didn't know really anything really about him, and I could see that they were like, "Wow, I didn't know he was doing all of this," and I
Yeah.
can tell they were very, like when he died, they were like, "This is how he died?" Like,
Mhm.
"And what happened with that?" They were like, "Well, what happened?" They didn't really come out with anything, but I could
Yeah.
see from somebody who didn't know anything about it and just watching, it was compelling enough for them. They were like,
Yeah.
"Wow, like this guy, there's no rappers today ain't like that." Like he was,
And
you know what I
that's
mean?
exactly how I felt with, Straight Compton with NWA. That was, like,
Mm,
my situation, because I was like, I knew Ice Cube, I knew all of those things, but I knew
mhm,
NWA, I knew some of their music, but I wasn't as in touch with the cultural impact that they had on hip hop and
interesting.
just rap culture, period. And
Okay.
so I was able to tap into that through that movie. I felt that, going to
Mhm,
see that probably, like in high school and like figuring that out and being able to go through their discography, that was a point of tapping me
wow.
in. And so I feel as though like this All Eyes on Me was an opportunity for your children. It was this Prince play could be an opportunity for
Mhm.
folks, the younger generation to tap in as well, even though it's a story. We have to keep in mind this is a narrative. It's not going to be
Yeah,
100%
it's
historically accurate. That's just
right.
what it is. So again, like even with TLC, the TLC biopic, everything wasn't 100% accurate, but it
Mhm,
pointed me to everything that was. And circling back to Pac, like how Pac had the Dear Mama, I was alert for that. I went back with TLC. I went and watched The Last Days of Left Eye so I could understand more of
mhm,
Left Eye's story because her story was
mhm.
not as included, you know,
Right.
and her family was kind of left out of that. So I went and sought that. And so it
Mm,
just it makes you alert as a researcher, as somebody that's passionate about all of this art
mhm.
and the artists that you're in tapped into.
Yeah,
You go and
yeah.
seek that information.
That's yeah, interesting the way you frame that because I think when I was younger, we didn't necessarily have the movies, but I
Mhm.
remember there were autobiographies that would come out. I
Yeah.
specifically remember was it Dreamgirls?
Oh, yeah.
One that was the lady who was in the Supremes.
Yeah.
That book blew my mind when I
Is
read
it
that.
Mary?
Yeah, Mary
Mary.
Wells? Or
Yeah, I think it's I'm forgetting
I
her
know I
last.
I'm probably messing the name up, I feel so bad,
I
but
know, right? I'm like, I know I see it, but I just can't. It's Mary something though. Yes.
that book blew my head open when I
Mhm.
read that, and I wasn't no big Supremes fan. I mean, that was a generation before me. I
Yeah.
knew who they were, though. I knew Diana Ross was big,
Mhm.
though she was, still a little ways from me, but as a kid, I saw the pictures of, like, Upside Down, and, like, I knew it was like, "Okay," and that's the same lady that had the songs, and they were in black and white with the Motown,
Mhm.
and I had heard about that book, and I read it, and I was like, "Yo, this is kind of a peek to what it's like to be, in that industry and what was going." I was like, "I gotta read more," and so I started reading more. I got into this whole autobiography stuff of artists that were before my time, but I
Absolutely.
dove into the music after reading those, and I wonder if these sort of autobiographical thing and maybe for the hardcore fans, they're like, "Yeah, that's not how it really happened." I get that, but is it maybe it's enough to spark the interest from a new person's perspective to go in
Abs
and dive and go get the books or listen to the music,
Uh-huh.
that type of thing. So, and when I think of it like that, I'm interested to see Purple Rain, the stage. And as I think about it
Absolutely.
now, I wouldn't be mad if they did a movie, though I know it would
Yeah.
probably be met with even more
Oh, hard yes.
protesters, which I respect that. I understand it.
But a lot of Broadway plays lead to that. Look at, The Color Purple. Look at that.
Color
I mean,
Purple.
that's facing a lot of scrutiny too, so it's gonna
Mhm.
just come with that because it is what it is, but,
Yeah, and I
um
remember now I'm gonna cut you off real quick.
Oh, no, no, go ahead.
One of the one of my greatest albums and a movie that I loved as a kid and my child at 8 years old
Mhm.
knows the songs today, and I believe it started as a Broadway play was Grease,
Of course.
which I'm sure
Of
the Grease
course.
of the movie is a little different from that original play that I heard was a lot more raunchy, but
Yeah.
I love I didn't question I bought that record, knew all the songs, saw that movie multiple times in the theater. It became a
Mhm.
cult classic to me and to many others. I mean, and that was a Broadway play turned into a movie and is a different take on the original, I suppose. So it can
Mhm.
happen. And
Yeah, and my love for theater is deep. Like I had to study a lot of theater, including hip hop theater while I was in
mm,
college. So I've got a different respect. And again, as a playwright, I have a different view on this. So,
okay.
I could, my view could definitely be opposite to yours, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. But
Absolutely.
again, like I just think the creative licensing around this is there's so much to include, there's so much to add to these characters' worlds. And like you said, like with the Wiz, that was one thing too for Color Girls,
Mm,
there's so many. We've seen a lot of these films, I mean these plays turn into
mm,
films, turn into books, have been more expounded upon. So there's just, I mean, the only thing that I'm saying here is that there's just so much context to add to these characters creatively and historically. I mean, he has the option to stay close to what Prince's imagining of these characters were, but also
mm,
bring in what the final production was in 1984. So, he can go as far and as little as he wants to, but just think about the creative possibilities. That's
right.
what I want people to know is that, and then at the end of the day, the goal is to expound the Prince community. So we have to look at that as well. And it might not be for you. I mean, like, not Purple Rain is not for everybody. That's not
Mhm.
everybody started out. A lot of people want to
Right.
focus on musicology or come or, the lot of artificial age like me. Like, there's a lot of anniversaries coming off, but we have to understand the historical impact that Purple Rain has on society, and it's in the Library of Congress for a reason. There's
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's so much weight here that we're dealing with, and so I think it's bigger than us. It's always
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
bigger than us. It's bigger than Prince. It's he created something that is, again, just a culturally significant film. And whether you
Mhm.
like it or not, you cannot discount that. And so, as long as the writer doesn't discount its cultural significance, its historical significance, it's all good to me. Do what you want,
Right. Yeah.
as long as it's not insulting him in any way. Then go ahead, And I think that's what um my census around a lot of the All Eyes on Me, the Straight Outta Compton's, the TLC biopics, as long as it's not insulting the artist and it's trying to stay as culturally truthful as possible, then we're good. It's not always going to be historically accurate. That's just how it is because they have to make things work for their production and for timing and staging and pacing of films. And, as a filmmaker, I understand that more. And I think that's where I started to understand a lot of the biopics. I used to be like, these biopics are trash, yo. Like, they're not historically accurate. And, me as an archivist, I'm sitting here like, bro, come on. Now, I read these books, I watched these documentaries. How hard is it to put it to screen and make it right? And
Mhm.
I'm just looking at it that way. But as I became a filmmaker and made my own film, and that process is hectic in itself. So I get it. I understand why they made it this, their way. And I also, there was one thing I wanted to say that I just forgot, but I'll probably remember it. But I think it was relating to, oh, the books, the autobiographies. That's how I got into artists. That's literally,
Oh,
I
okay.
read
Interesting.
biographies like no tomorrow. I That's like one of my favorite things, from Quincy Jones to Michael Jackson to Lenny Kravitz to,
Mm,
Prince's own biography to, T-Boz's books of poems to, you know, unofficial, unauthorized biographies. I read those too. But I
mhm,
really try to read as much as I can from the artists themselves. Rick James, so many people, Janet Jackson, all of these folks. I read so much, even outside of like my music world. Like, I read about Basquiat so much. I read about the Andy
mm,
Warhols. I read about the, Keith Haring's. Artists
mhm.
have so many similar mindsets that you wouldn't imagine. And I feel like autobiographies have unlocked some of the most keys to life. Even reading about revolutionaries, like when I started reading about Tupac, I read about his mother. I went to his mother's biography. Then I went back to Black Panthers. I went to the Fred Hamptons. I went to, the Angela Davises. It unlocked so much for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
You learn about all these key figures that they mention in their lives. So, and then you can go with Prince, you'll do the same thing. When you read Prince's biography, this Purple Rain play can unlock them to go to read Prince's biography. Want to read more about Prince, then you read about Prince's influences and understanding how his makings of an artist. And then it brings them into this whole world of funk and, just whatever all of his influences, the Parliaments, the Sly, who has a biography out now, like you just
Mm,
get entrenched in the world. And so it's just a endless portal. There's just
yeah,
so many opportunities. And so I just want to encourage people to look at the opportunity here for the fandom to grow. And some people might not want it to grow, and that's on them, but I want to see more people come in. I want people to carry on the love of Prince's legacy, for so on and so forth. And it's just, I see the vision for it to take on multiple lives. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's that was a little long winded there, but that's
no,
what I wanted to say
I love
about
it, love it. Man, I think we have exhausted everything we can say about this. I'd love to hear, you, the listener or watcher, what you guys think about this. I know
yeah,
there's a lot out there. I guess we're just gonna wait and see
yeah,
what the first pieces of this come out, and what it looks like. Yeah, well, and this is, I guess, this is the year of Purple Rain.
yep.
Uh,
Rain
get
40.
ready. Yeah, like last year was all about hip hop 50. I guess this year's gonna be
Mhm.
Purple Rain 40, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I love to celebrate Prince. There's a lot of other milestones, I'm sure, for albums this year we'll talk about, but yeah,
Mhm.
this is probably his most mainstream, his biggest album, and
Mhm.
we gonna embrace that.
Of
You know what I'm saying? 'Cause
course.
this is a gateway. "Oh, you like Purple Rain? Oh, cool. You should check out this other album, or you should check this out, because this is just another gateway to get people in. That's it.
It's the
That's it.
honey. It's the
Yeah,
honey to the trap.
there you go. There you go. We're gonna get up out of I was thinking of playing something as we go. Uh, I can edit this to get through we're gonna go back to Pac one more time.
Oh, we turning back to
Uh, just because, and it's funny, this song title is a nod to Prince.
mhm,
And we're gonna end it out. Oh, first of all, before we get out of here, where
mhm.
can they find you online?
Socials. Okay, so if you want to follow my personal page on Instagram, I'm India Soulful Haze, all one word. And if you want to follow me via, like, all the Prince stuff that I do, I'm Miss India on Twitter, at Planet India M, Miss Power Fantastic on Instagram, and make sure you follow the Purple Townhouse on Twitter. We are just at the Purple Townhouse on Twitter, and that's where we have our spaces. Or we do spaces once a month. It's myself, Randy, Chris, and Perla, and we're just holding it down for the next power generation. So you can check me out there. I have link trees in the bio, so you can get hip to everything that I got going on. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Love it, love it. It must be getting dark over there where you're at, huh?
It is. I know I got to turn
You notice
I'm sitting close to the camera like this.
I hope you don't notice my power went out. My battery's still on. It's almost charged out. No. But, all right, so here we go. When thugs cry.
Yeah.